Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video we're going to talk getting started with Age of Sigmar 3rd edition, and today we're going to take a look at the Soulblight Gravelords, in particular the Legion of Blood sub-faction. In this video we'll go talk about everything that makes a Legion of Blood sub-faction special. We'll then look at some units we can pick up first to start our Legion of Blood force before looking at other units to pick up later to expand it to a 1000 point army ready for some games. We'll then provide a little sample army list at the end of the video which you can use as your own inspiration to get some ideas on creating your own Legion of Blood force, or indeed use our list if that's what you want to do. With that all said, let's talk about what makes Legion of Blood special in a Soulblight Gravelords army. So for starters, we are obviously Soulblight, so we're going to get all the generic rules that come with being Soulblight. Legion of Blood on top of this also have some additional rules that came out in White Dwarf. You can currently find these all in the app, and we'll talk about all those extra rules here as well. So the first thing we get is we get a cool rule called Favoured Retainers. This is where our Death Rattle units, while they're near vampire units or heroes get a better version of this. They will be able to ignore hit and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target them. Pretty cool stuff, like they can't take any negative modifiers on their hit and wounds. This is solid, meaning, you know, we're always going to be able to get bonuses, but we're never going to be able to take negatives. Really solid. And then we've got the Immortal Majesty, where extra enemy models flee whenever something fails a battle shock test within 3 inches of one of our vampires, and extra D3 models, so some nice. And then we have the Unparalleled Expertise rule. This is one of the rules that got added in the White Dwarf. Now, every time we take a Vampire Lord model, we will get to add a rule of either Martial or Arcane Mastery to them, or Expertise. If we choose Martial, we add one to the attacks characteristic of the Deathlance or Vampiric Sword by a Vampire Lord, and we add 2 to their attacks if they're used by characteristic of Soulbound blades used by this. So if it's a foot one, we're going to get some extra stuff. The foot ones generally get a better version of the one than the mounted one would get. Arcane, otherwise, we get +1 to cast, dispel, and unbind if we're mounted on a zombie dragon, or we add 2 to the first casting, dispelling, and unbind roll in each hero phase if we are not on a zombie dragon. So there's some pretty cool stuff there. Like I said, the foot ones will get the better version, though, you know, they're less survivable than the big ones on the zombie dragons. Looking at where to start though, I think a Vampire Lord is a really solid place to start. They're a decent hero war scroll, they've got a cool model on top of that, and we're going to get to use that Martial Expertise or the Arcane Expertise straight away. Soulbound Blades, thanks to, if we choose to go with the Martial Expertise, we get an extra 2 attacks, so we'll be at 6 attacks, 3 3s, round 1 damage D3. This turns the foot hero into a pretty decent unit in combat, in all honesty. They can cast and unbind 1 spell per hero phase, and like I said, they can get +2 to their first casting, which would be their only casting in this case. The Hunger allows them to do a little bit of self-healing. Crimson Feast is a command ability where they can add 1 to the attacks characteristic of a melee weapons unit used by a friendly summonable unit near them, so skeletons or stuff like that. And as always, we get Invigorating Aura. Alongside picking up this, I really do recommend Skeleton Warriors. They're a pretty decent unit, and because they're Death Rattle, this is really what we want to be going with everything as our troops in this. Just because we get those cool benefits of not taking any negative modifiers. And so, Ancient Blades or Spears, we get 1 attack at 3s to hit, 4s to wound, meaning we could potentially go to 2s and 3s if we can find the bust. Generally, it'll be 2s and 4s. Bust to wound are a little bit hard to come by. No rend damage 1, and then the Champion's Mace or Halberd is 2 attacks, 3 3s, no rend damage 1. We've then got the Skeleton Legion unit, where when you pick this unit to fight, you roll the dice for each model in the unit that was slain in that phase, and on 4+, you can return that model to the unit. This means we're great at being a Beta Strike army. We are great at fighting second. Large unit Skeleton Warriors, you can lose half your unit and then bring back half the ones that died, or even spike and get something better. And then you attack back with more than what your opponent. So your opponent has to try and wipe you. This leaves your opponent having to put either extra force in to make sure you completely die, otherwise you're coming back as soon as you get to attack. This is particularly cool when we can do with some combinations of getting extra attacks, or also thinking about other things that make us attack twice with the unit as well. Now, looking at some other things, let's go look at some other units we can use to expand upon this force after. And so, looking at other units, Graveguard are another one of our Death Rider units, and they're pretty much our elite skeleton warriors. Graveguard can have two different weapon loadouts. We can either have white blades and crypt shields, or we can have great white blades. If we go with the great white blades, these are the more offensive weapon, and generally I like to think of Graveguard as a nice little glass cannon. They probably, for me, work better with the great white blades. 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, Ren 1 damage 2 is really, really solid. Cursed weapons as well. Any time we roll an unmodified wound roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by the unit is a 6. We do a mortal wound in addition to any other damage. So you can potentially putting out 3 damage for every 6 if you manage to get those things through. The attacks through as well with the Graveguard. Crypt shields, we drop a point of damage, but we do go to 3s and 3s rather than 3s and 4s. Still rend 1 and still 2 attacks. But we will get the Crypt Shield ability where we add 1 to the save rolls for the unit, allowing us to go to a 4-up save instead of a 5-up. Like I said, they are a little bit of a glass cannon if you go with the Great White Blades, but the shields give you a bonus rather than giving you a change to anything of your characteristic, meaning generally you might as well just be using all that defense and getting the offensive weapons in there anyway. For me, we also get the ability where any charge rolls for this unit are always treated as a 6 if you've got a Hornblower in the unit, and the musicians and the champion will add an extra attack, and then we can also reroll any 1s for Deathless Minions battle trait on this unit whilst they have any standard bearers as well. Pretty solid stuff all around for Graveguard. Looking at Black Knights, who are the unit that become battle line in this sub-faction, we get 2 wounds on a 12-inch move, 5-up save. Nothing to write home about. Their attacks, we've got Barrel Lancers with 2 attacks, 4s, 3s, no rend damage 1. But when they do charge, we get to pick an enemy unit within 1 inch, and on a 2+, do D3 mortal wounds to that unit. For me, the great thing about these is they benefit from a lot of the Legion's abilities of being Legion of Blood, but they give us a little bit of speed in the Force as well. That's generally where I see them having a place. Also, 100 points for 10 wounds is pretty solid. They're cheap, they're not going to necessarily kill an awful lot, but they can probably take some objectives off some little chaff units if they kill a couple of models. They're not too bad at all. And then we start looking at other units. And Blood Knights are another cool unit we have access to. Now, they're a vampire unit. And so what we get is how we can use all our vampire hero abilities. The Blood Knights just get a lesser ability of that with the Legion of Blood. So pretty cool. So they could work great in tandem with units of Black Knights that aren't going to take any negatives around them, leading them on the charge. But also, Blood Knights are going to have the Martial Fury ability, where we add 1 to the damage characteristic of their Templar Lances and Blades when they charge. So they go up to damage 2, so 3 attacks at 3 range, run 1 damage 2 is pretty solid. And Riders of Ruin is a really cool ability that allows us to make a normal move when we're in engagement range or close combat 3 inches of an enemy unit, and do some mortal wounds to units we pass over. And because it's stated as being a normal move, when we do this, we can charge after doing it as well. So a really good way to keep your Blood Knights doing some damage at all times. Now, looking at another hero option we can bring in, I really do like the Coven Throne in Legion of Blood. For me, its big thing is its ability, or its command ability rather, called Tactical Insight. You can use this ability at the start of your hero phase, and if you do so, pick one friendly Soulblight Gravelords unit wholly within 12 inches of this model. Until your next hero phase, you add 1 to hit, wound, and to their save rolls for attacks that target this unit. Pretty darn cool, because we can't be taking any negatives, and this just gives out a straight out +1 to hit and wound. Nice, we're going to be, on 2s and 3s, but a really cool unit. Now, let's look at a little sample army list. And so this is the sample army list we've gone for here. Soulblight Gravelords, Legion of Blood in Shaiish. We've gone Hold the Line for our grand strategy, and we're taking the Inspired Triumph for +1 to wound. It's just a good triumph all around. Now, we've got our Vampire Lord on foot. He's gone for Arcane Expertise, and we've given him the universal spell Levitate. The reason I like Levitate is that this army is generally lacking flying units, so being able to have our Black Knights as a flying unit is really nice. That 12-inch move with flying can really be useful going and grabbing objectives late game or even early game, getting into places our opponent thought we might not be able to get. Coven Throne is going to be our general, and they're going to have the command trait, which is going to be Soul Crushing Contempt. Soul Crushing Contempt is pretty cool. We subtract 1 from Bravery of all units around us. Combining this with the fact we're already making extra models flee, this is pretty cool. Now, we're also going to go the Oubliette Arcana, which allows us to effectively ignore spells on a 5-up. If our opponent casts them, we then get to roll the dice. On a 5-up, it gets rid of them. And then Soul Pike is going to be the spell we take. Normally, I would like to see taking Amethystine Pinions, but I think Soul Pike's really nice. It puts it on an enemy unit. If they charge, they do mortal wounds to themselves, which is pretty cool. So a nice sort of little control spell. Opponent rolls a big charge on a unit that's not got a lot of wounds left. They might not want to charge the unit. Battle line wise, we've got a unit of 20 skeletons and a unit of 10 skeletons and then 5 Black Knights. The 20 skeletons are really going to be our big force, and we've got the other unit of skeletons for objective holding, along with the Black Knights just providing us with some maneuverability around the battlefield. A cool little hammer in the army. We've got 10 Graveguard with great white blades. These are going to be a nice little glass hammer, something that's tied in with our skeletons. We can try and use these as sort of a bait strike force. But lastly, we've gone for the Horrorghast as well. I think this is a fantastic endless spell. I've used it plenty of times. I really enjoy it. The Horrorghast stops enemies from being able to use Battle Shock immunity or using command abilities in the Battle Shock phase around it. So this really can be good, and also makes an extra D3 models flee if they fail a test. So if we can get them to fail tests around the Coven Throne, which will be at -1 bravery, we then can also add in the extra 2d3 potentially if the Coven Throne is near them, and the Horrorghast as well, to make a ton of extra models flee. This can be devastating to elite armies especially. Core battalions, we've got Hunters of the Heartlands, putting in both our units of skeletons, or rather our unit of 20 skeletons, our unit of Graveguard, and our unit of Black Knights in there. The other unit of skeletons, probably not the one we want to have in there. And then we've got that's it for the army really. 990 points, 1 reinforced unit out of 2, no allies, 67 wounds is pretty solid, and 6 drops. We've got the units here to sort of outflank our enemies, and put up screens as well to allow us to play on that beta strike. If you've been playing with Legion of Blood in 3rd edition, let us know how you've been going and what you've been doing down in the comments below. Well, that's the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below and let us know what you enjoyed about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the video's description to our Discord server. And lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so either via Patreon or YouTube members, and both of those are linked again down in the video's description. As a special thanks to all our Patreon and YouTube members, I'd like to give a shout out to them all. So a special thank you to our Patreons: Christian Weir, James Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nilsson, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Dynet226, and Derek. And a special shout out to our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Vinny, Lockloric, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Shelf, Ariana Airwoods, and Sean Scott. Lastly, a special thanks first of all to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for our channel, and to Xmorphic, who does all the amazing Discord server background work for us. Thank you all for watching. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.